Greetings, everyone, and welcome to our live stream. Welcome to or welcome back to PB with Jay. I'm the Jay in that, otherwise known as Jeremy. Here on the channel, we do lots of wonderful plant-based things from live streams like this with wonderful guests who share their stories, whether it be weight loss, or we've had some cookbook authors on here and a few other wonderful people in between. On the channel, we also do things like cookbook reviews. We do my own recipes, and we sometimes we review some gadgets and whatnot that people send us that are of the plant-based and whatnot variety. And while the audience is loading in, we've already got some amazing comments going on in here. There was one, it was here and then it disappeared. There was one from this man named Bill who talked about his weight loss for a second, and I lost it. But congrats, Bill. I don't see the comment anymore. So let's see some people where people watch from. Sean, I imagine, is this your partner? Is this Sean?
Yes, it's my husband.
Sean is watching along. Hi, Sean. We've got Michigan lady who was saying congrats to Bill, who has disappeared on us. Hello to Chrissy. We've got Yvonne from Clearwater, Florida. Hello, Yvonne. Janet from St. Louis. Hello. We've got Nani from New Hampshire. Kimberly's here. And Vi from New York. And lots of other people. So what I'm going to do, I won't throw any more shout outs yet because we're going to jump into the thing. But if you have any questions you want to ask myself or our guest, throw the questions down in the comments. Put a little Q in front of it if you don't mind. It just helps me find them faster. And then I will save those for a little bit later on into our conversation. Today, we have the privilege of sitting down with someone whose journey is really a testament to the profound impact that dietary choices can have on our lives. Our guest today has battled with obesity, addiction, and numerous health challenges, and once tipped the scales at 340 pounds. So we're going to talk about the highs and the lows as they share some valuable lessons that they learned along the way. Please welcome our guest, Julie Tomlinson.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
I wish we had like an applause. I'm sure the audience, in my mind, they're all like, woo, Julie. So let's start where we always start with these things. Like, tell us about your kind of journey to plant-based. What was, give us a before picture so we can have some context of what you went through.
So I grew up standard American diet all the way. I grew up in a household with a hunter for a stepfather. So there was a lot of hunting and fishing, and nothing like veganism or vegetarian was even on the radar in my family growing up. There was a lot of morbid obesity, ran rampant in my family, and I actually was very tiny when I entered the world. I was a month premature and only weighed 4 pounds, but we made up for that rather quickly.
My story.
It's true. I was a normal sized toddler and child. There's a lot of childhood trauma in my story, and I'm pretty open with that. I like to think of my life that I am a glorious mess in progress. So I am still not even close to where I hope to be, but I'm so much further than where I once was. And, that's pivotal in my entire story. But I really did not start gaining a lot of weight until I was 16. When I was 16, my biological father committed suicide. And I really started packing on the pounds, and it was rapid. I was teased when I was like probably a preteen by the boys, and I didn't realize that's kind of just what boys did. But I developed kind of early, and they make fun of my body, and I guess that was called flirting back in the 80s. I was born in 1970, so in the 80s I was a teenager, and I didn't realize that was flirting, and I took it really to heart. So I think it was already planting the seeds of body dysmorphia and really struggling with body image because of the sexual abuse in my past and in my childhood, coupled with just normal teenage stuff. I already assumed there was something fundamentally wrong with my body long before I even had true body issues, long before I was ever overweight.
Yeah. And when you say you felt like there was something wrong with your body, can you elaborate on that? Like what?
I assumed that the things that the teenage boys were saying when they comment on my shape meant that I was obese, and I
Right.
wasn't. I was a normal weight. But I think coupled with the way I already felt about my body and who I was as a person, with the comments from the boys, I, at a very young age, questioned whether I was okay as
Well,
far as, go ahead.
that's the 80s too, right? So that's like, I'm just thinking that's like the era of like supermodels coming into play. And that's really, I think, especially when I think about like this image we have this of, beauty and whatnot, like that's the 80s and early 90s is where all of that shit comes from, right?
Absolutely. That was the era of nothing comes between me and my Calvins, I think it was. I'm not sure, but Brooke Shields, and
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
like the stick figure, which I didn't have. I had a curvy figure, and so I was already ashamed of my body, and I was already dieting long before I needed to diet. So I was dieting when I was at a normal, healthy weight, which was, the precursor to messing up my metabolism big time. But once my father committed suicide, I did turn to not only food, but food and alcohol and eventually drugs. But I gained weight very, very rapidly. And by the time I was 18, I would say I was probably well over 250 pounds by the time
Wow.
I was 18. And at 16, I was a normal weight.
So
So it
within
was
2 years, so and by normal weight, so you probably doubled your weight.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. My mom says that I can gain weight quicker than anyone she has ever seen in her life. So
Wow.
I would have been great in caveman times. I would have lived forever because I can hold on to weight.
Yeah, you would have done
Yeah,
real well in the winters. You'd have been a great
exactly.
pioneer woman. Yeah.
Exactly. Overachiever.
So what are the kinds of things, do you remember eating at that point in time? Like what were your go-tos? What were the comfort
um,
foods?
so shame. Because
That's okay.
I'm also an ethical vegan now, but Burger King was a huge part of my story. And I love Slim Jims and string cheese. I just in everything, all the worst foods you can imagine were my favorite foods. And I was a cheese fanatic. Cheese was a big part of my story. Eventually considered myself quite a cheese snob.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that was an interesting time because it's like the internet's not around yet, so
Hmm.
we're not like there's no information on this stuff. Like nobody has to share health information. Nobody understands how many calories we're supposed to eat in a day. There's like
Hmm.
no education about nutrition really in schools the way there is today.
Mm.
Doctors aren't like preaching it. Doctors don't really even understand it because they're not really taught it for more than like what is it, 20 hours during medical
Right.
school. So it's like we're so left on our own, other than this like idea. And this is like the era of when fad dieting is starting to come in, right?
Hmm.
Because I think we're also in this time period where like people are gaining weight faster than ever because
Hmm.
of all the fast food, because of all these options, right? But they
Hmm.
don't know what to do on the flip side of it.
Exactly. I remember like that's when Slim Fast really started making it on the market, and then they had these Snackwell cookies because they were touting low fat, low fat, low fat, and as long as everything was fat free, it could be loaded with sugar, but as
Yeah.
long as it was in chemicals, but as long as it was fat free, you were good to go. So and I took that to heart and would happily eat an entire package of Snackwell cookies because they were low fat after all. So and then I really vacillated between I would try to starve myself and binge a little bit of purging for a little while, just all over the place. But the weight just kept piling on, and it piled on, and it piled on, and I had no tools for coping with life whatsoever.
No, so talk about, I know you've got a laundry list of kind of health challenges that came up along the way. Can you paint a picture of us of what some of those were?
And honestly, I still do. And I still have quite a few of health challenges. And instead of being really quiet and reserved about that, because there's a part of me that says, well, don't, I hear so many people say they switch to a vegan diet or they switch to a whole food plant-based diet and everything cleared up for them. They found the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow and everything was perfect. A huge part of my story is that no, not everything has been perfect. And I still had to deal with a lot of health challenges. But had I not found this way of eating, I cannot even imagine how horrible my health challenges would be. So while they haven't eradicated all of them, they've greatly reduced them.
Hmm.
But by the time I was in my early 20s, I had sinus tachycardia that I had to take Inderal for. I had high blood pressure. I had high cholesterol. I had a couple of bouts of AFib, and I was only in my 20s. I
Wow.
had gastroesophageal reflux disease, which later led to Barrett's esophagus with dysphagia. So there's just been a lot, and I have several autoimmune conditions. So it's been a fun time.
Super fun. Super.
It's been great. It's been great. But like I said, had I not one, I smoked two cartons of cigarettes a week from the time I was probably, goodness, well, on the regular from 16 to about age 26. So I'm a former smoker, former drinker, drug, you name it, all of it, along with food. And it's hard to even tell you which is my drug of choice. I would have to say it's actually probably food. And I do believe that I'm in recovery, ongoing recovery from food addiction.
Yeah, that's got to be. People don't talk about food addiction, and especially when it comes to like, the sad type foods, because you know it's the one thing that you can't stop. You can't just, when it comes to drugs and alcohol and all these other things, you can just like, well, you can just abstain.
Hmm.
You can't abstain from food or you die. So,
Hmm. Exactly.
so it's one of the more challenging ones because there is this weird push and pull from it and also I know there's so many people that, they just, they look at eating healthier and they just assume that it's like, well, that means they're not going to enjoy food for the rest of their life. Right. And then,
Hmm.
and that's a depressing thought because they just assume that this way of eating doesn't come with flavor and taste.
It comes with more flavor. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. It opened me up to like so many different ethnic cuisines, and I love going to the Asian markets because I like there's fruit and vegetables I had never seen in my life, and just tastes. It's been an incredible journey.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
awesome. We'll get into that, but first, so give us a sense of how because so what were some of the attempts? At what point did you start looking at this and going, well, I want to lose some weight, and what were the first kind of attempts you made? Like, what did that look like? Because I know I've shared it on here before, but I went through, I did like the Atkins, and
Hmm.
I never did keto, but I tried a lot of things along the way, zero with success until I did this myself.
It's really run the gamut. So the first time I ever I mean, I did Weight Watchers a little bit here and there in my life, but that was more for, I think, like social, it was a social club for me more than me really getting serious. But I did stumble onto a book called The Carbohydrates Addict's Diet many, many years ago. I want to say that was probably, it was when my daughter was a little girl. So we're talking over 32 years ago. I stumbled onto that book, and they gave you like a window of the day. You had to be really careful with how many carbs you ate in the entire day. And then there was a 1 hour period where you could eat whatever you wanted, as much as you wanted, as long as it was within that 1 hour. And I'll tell you what,
It's like a
I
game
was an
show.
yeah, I was an overachiever. So if you told me I had an hour to eat whatever I wanted, I took that to heart, and I gained so much weight on that diet till I eventually tipped the scales at over 340 pounds. So I dieted my way to extreme morbid obesity. And that's a huge part of my story. And it's when I actually stopped dieting and learned a little bit about nutrition and food that I actually began to lose any weight at all. But I did Slim Fast. I did a program called the Weigh Down program. I did it all. I have through the years played with macros, counting macros a little bit. And that's a whole another story in itself. But where I land is whole food plant based.
Yeah.
No oil, no sugar. I have not completely given up the salt shaker yet. I fess up to that here. Maybe one day, but I'm definitely lower sodium, no oil, no sugar all the way. And that's not to say that there haven't been times where oil or sugar have crept in. I've been derailed on this whole thing for a long time. The good news is I've kept off 160 pounds. I've maintained that weight loss for several years.
That's incredible.
Um, But my son ended up getting bone cancer when he was 17. So in 2015, my son got bone cancer, and I was really thrown for a loop. And so I went back to my veganism and kind of left whole food plant-based for a little while. And
Yeah.
I did end up gaining a little bit of weight back. But he's doing great, and I'm doing much better now. But life continues to throw you curveballs. I'm in the midst of many curveballs in my life right now, but that's also part of my message, and so badly why I wanted to come on here and talk with you, Jeremy, is because I think that a lot of people think that they have found the holy grail when they find the whole food plant-based way of eating, and that it magically fixes your entire life, and that those curveballs in life don't come anymore. And that's not my message. My message is it helps me to maintain my health and navigate what real life looks like.
Mm.
That is the message of my heart. I haven't had an easy time of it. I'm not having an easy time of it in my life right now, but my whole food plant-based journey has changed my mental health so much. It's so much a part of my recovery and my story that now I know I can navigate whatever life throws at me, even when it's the bumpy stuff.
Yeah, and you don't have to get into any specifics you don't want to, but can you give a sense of more of what you meant by that? Because I love that statement, because I think it's true for me too, and I'm sure a lot of people who are listening to this, the idea of like eating this way has helped your mental health. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
I so can. So I struggle with depression and anxiety, and it's kind of so odd even hearing myself say that now, because I absolutely love life, but I am a survivor of suicide attempts myself, and I've struggled with my mental health for a very long time. A lot of it due to my childhood and the trauma that I endured as a little girl, but a lot of it just due to life in general and not really having the tools or learning the tools to navigate life. When I started on this whole food plant-based journey, it opened me up in so many ways that the from the people that I've met, the support that I've gained, the permission to be really authentic with myself, all came from watching a Forks Over Knives documentary. Like I can't even completely understand it. I was the girl that was trying to ditch gym class, and usually did ditch gym class. I was very good. And now you can't keep me from running now. Like I absolutely love running to the point where I have peroneal nerve damage in both my calves, and I'm like fighting with my muscular doctors to let me run more miles. And this is someone that, I spent a lot of time in mental health units when I was a teenager from self-harm. I've really, really struggled. And now I can't imagine hurting my body, the environment, or anybody else. It's just, and that's seriously started with a food documentary. It all began with that.
Yeah. I wonder if, because I've thought about this a lot myself, and I think, the challenge with people that have like food addictions and whatnot, are just like, addictive personalities, and that, the way the world is with food, unhealthy foods in particular, being so convenient and so easy to eat, poorly, regularly.
Mm-hmm.
For me, there was something about like the quote unquote restrictiveness
Mm-hmm.
of like creating rules and boundaries of going, well, I can eat this and I won't. And I don't say I can't eat this because I can eat anything I want. I
Exactly.
won't eat this.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is where I go. And I know a lot of people look at that as a restrictive diet, but I never have, because I don't think of the things like I don't eat anymore, but the things I do eat. And it's just, for me, I just know there's like a weight lifted off of me where I go into a restaurant, if we're traveling or something, and I look at the menu. It's almost like, it's like the rest of the menu gets redacted, and I can
Mm-hmm.
just like lock in on the things that I
Yes.
can eat, and I don't even pay attention to the other ones. I'm just like, well, those are my options, okay. And then if they suck, I'm like, okay, well, how can we get creative with the people? Like, let's think outside the box here. You do have some other ingredients here. Can we do something with this? But for me, that like there's something about limiting my choices that just frees me up to like it for some reason it feels like in a way boxing in, but it's, I don't know, there's a stress relief there. Is that kind of what you think?
What, like when you're saying that, like I picture like this, you've seen, if you've ever gone bowling and they put up like the safety bumpers, the little bumpers for kids,
Yeah.
and so their balls don't immediately go in the gutter. And it's like, that's how my life feels. So
Oh,
for me, it's not restrictive.
I
It's
love
like
that metaphor.
it's like the safety bumper for me, that Julie, I'm trying to keep you safe here. And if you stay between these, it's not restrictive at all. Because for the first time in my life, I feel like I was granted permission to have hunger drives,
Mm,
where before I felt guilty for being hungry. Again, I felt like something was fundamentally wrong with me if I was hungry. I was conditioned to think that way, just from life, from the dieting industry, from everything else. That it was, it was good and bad food, and I was bad because I was hungry. But now that I have those safety bumpers up for me that say, eat these things, maybe Julian, don't eat these things. It's given me permission to be hungry and to actually satisfy that hunger and know that I'm healing my body and not hurting it. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me. Like, when I was growing up, we always had a fruit bowl in the house, but you would take one piece of fruit. Like,
mm.
and you knew, like, my mom only bought a certain amount of fruit a week. And when that fruit was gone, and it was usually just bananas and apples, when that was gone, it was gone for the week. So you get your one banana, and that's what you would take. And my mom laughs because I live with my mom now. I recently became her caregiver. And there's so much fruit on our kitchen table that there's barely a table.
Hmm.
And she kind of, when I first moved in, was like, oh my goodness, that's going to go bad. All that food's going to go bad. And I'll tell you, there's not been one vegetable or piece of fruit that's gone bad in this household. And she's like, but you're so tiny. And she called me Peanut when I was a baby because I was born a month premature. And now she'll look at my wrist and she'll be like, oh, you're my little Peanut again, because she thinks I'm so tiny. I still have plenty of weight that I could shed from my body, but it's funny. It's just
Yeah.
funny.
Well, I mean, first of all, I just want to say I love that metaphor of like the kid rails, that it's because that's what it feels like. It feels like I've got like a guideline to protect me. You know what I mean? If I stay within those rails, I'm going to be fine. I love that. That's such a great metaphor. What does your mom think about all this?
Well, that's kind of crazy. So, my stepfather passed away 2 months ago, suddenly from a heart attack. And it was unexpected. He had stage 5 kidney disease. And we were already planning out on adding an addition to their home and me coming out and caretaking for both of them while he started home dialysis. But sadly, he passed away before that could happen. So on January 17th, he passed, and I became an instant caregiver to my mom. I was estranged from my mom for many years, so this is a whole thing. And
Wow.
so I haven't left her side since this happened. And she's coming from a standard American diet, and I have to say, 2 months later, she is vegetarian slash almost vegan, almost whole food plant based. So I'm making a believer out of my mother, who has, she's 70 years old and she's been standard American diet her whole life. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
That's amazing. And have you found that she's been surprised by enjoying the food more, or just any
She
benefit she's had?
So she's losing weight. She's got color in her cheeks, and she did not before. She has 2 ruptured discs, and so she's going through a lot right now. But yeah, she looks forward to this food. And you're kidding? I'm like, I'm a good cook, so she's doing great. She's doing great. The only problem, we have run into a problem for me, but I'm finally past it. When I came out, my mom really had a bad sugar addiction, like bad, bad. Like, she ate cakes and cookies and that stuff every day, every single day, and has weight to lose as well. And when I came out, I was like, I'm gonna start making you whole food plant-based goodies with no oil or no sugar. I normally only have those for holidays, so that's kind of how we do it. Or if we go out to, somewhere, we might get something, but it's very, very rare. And when I say whole food plant-based, I mean no oil, no sugar, but stuff that might be cooked, baked with dates,
Yep.
maybe some nuts and stuff like that. We have those every holiday. It hasn't, done anything bad for my weight loss efforts. And the next day I'm right back on my greens and beans. So it hasn't been an issue for us. So when I came out, my whole thing was I want to get my mom off the standard American diet. And I will become her whole food, plant-based bakery slave if it means getting her off the standard American diet.
Yeah.
So we have those in the house all the time now. And it's really hard because those bumper rails we've been talking about, I'm like, well, this is whole food plant-based, Julie. You can have this. But I finally got over it because I had gained 9 pounds, and it's all back off now, and I'm feeling not as called because I'm like, you know what, this is just another configuration of dates and oatmeal. So come on, get over it already, because truly that's what most of the desserts are really,
Yeah.
is just a glorified bowl of oatmeal baked in some fashion. So I'm finally over that, and the fruit and veggies are looking really, really good again.
That's just it, and that's the struggle. We have sweet tooth in our house too, my wife and I in particular, and we do these cookbook reviews very regularly, and so you got to include desserts in those things, right? So people know what the dessert chapters are like. But in between those, we try to clean it up because my wife and I both know that left to our own devices, we'll like always whole food plant-based within it, but we'll have something every night if it's in the house, you know.
Exactly. That's where my husband and I are. And my husband, he's lost over 100 pounds as well, but he still has a significant amount that he needs to lose. And I mean, I'm at the place, for a long time I had set these arbitrary goal numbers, and I'm over that. I'm really over that. For a while, I was really down on myself because I lose weight painstakingly slow. There's several reasons that might contribute to why, that are health related, but I'm over that now. I threw out my scale, goodness, probably last summer. I threw it away completely.
Wow.
Threw it in the dumpster because I was getting crazy, and I knew I was getting crazy. And the closer I was getting to goal, the crazier I was getting. And I was like, this isn't worth it. You feel good. You run, hike, swim, bike. You do it all now. And you used to not be able to walk to the mailbox without getting winded. And now you're like running half marathons and stuff. What is your problem? Why does this scale have so much power over you? You know, I've got almost low blood pressure. I've got incredible cholesterol levels. The only medication that I take is for a missing thyroid gland that I have to take. There's just, why are you so tied to this? Why are you so tied to what some other social influencer, what her weight is?
Yeah.
Why aren't you tuned into how you feel? So I threw the flipping thing away.
I love this. I want to stay in this for a second because I think a lot of us can relate to this, like scale slavery we feel, you know, and this idea of like, well, this is my number. I have to get to this number, and then life will be perfect, and cannons will go off celebrating me, and there will be a parade in the streets. But what and you don't have to be specific about the number, but what brought you to that number? Like, what about that number when you were doing your research or whatever went, oh, this is the number I'm supposed to hit? Like, why did you come up with that goal in the first place?
Because I'd be a healthy BMI, like the holy grail of how you're supposed to be. And it's such crap. Sorry.
No, you can say crap.
All right. Well, it is, because the truth of the matter, it takes nothing in consideration. All right. So I've lost 182 pounds as of today, around there. I've maintained this weight loss for a really long time. Incredible. But if I get on a scale right now, it says I'm still obese.
Yep.
Still
Same.
obese.
Same.
And I'm like, it makes me crazy. I'm in a size small. I wear a 6'8". I don't know if you know anything about women's clothes, but that's pretty darn, I'm getting to the end of what they offer for clothing sizes. And I'm like, you know what? I'm 53 years old, and I'm a 53-year-old woman that can run 13 miles. I'm a 53-year-old woman that loves life and used to want to die. Who the flip cares what the scale says anymore? And it's truly just how I feel. I don't want to limit the amount of grapes or mangoes I can eat in a freaking day. It's almost watermelon season, and I'm going to go nuts this year. And I don't want anyone, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter.
Dude, I love you. I love you so much.
I love you.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. That speech, I got tingles. Anyone else got tingles from that? Wow, what a great, because that's just it. And because I myself went through a struggle, and I've talked about it on the channel, of just like counting calories and on the scale every single day, just to the point of like, mental health issues myself. Of just going,
Mhm.
well, I got to hit that number and this BMI and blah, blah, blah. And now it's to the point where I've gained back like probably 30 or 40 pounds since I was at my lowest. And my brain goes, oh, shoot, you're getting, but I've also maintained that new weight for years, right? But I'm
Mhm.
gaining back because I'm doing more muscle workout too, and whatnot. But I'm the same as you. It's like I'm in the best shape I've been in my entire life. I'm in clothes that are like a normal size, quote unquote. I don't get winded by anything. I have energy for days. But if I step on the scale and go by these guidelines of BMI, it tells me that I'm overweight, and I'm like, that's
It's
insane.
bull. It's absolute bull.
Well,
And
and
it doesn't take into account, I know that I have loose skin. I have, so I'm
yeah,
probably honestly like 10, maybe even 15 pounds of just loose skin inside of itself. Plus I work out like crazy, not because I have to, because I can't freaking sit still. Like my mom in a day is like, can you please sit down? Can you please sit down? I'm like, no, not really. I don't think I can actually, because I can't stand the way it feels to be sedentary.
yeah, I
I'm getting
agree.
too many vitamins and minerals like juicing through this body. I gotta go.
I'm the same way. Yeah. And I work from home most of the time, and it's a lot of sitting down, editing or writing. And it's like, if I don't get up and go for like a 40-minute walk in the middle of the day with the dog, I just like get squirrely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Same.
Ama- Amazing. I love that you threw it out. I wish I still have mine. And I've got a healthy relationship with mine now, where I weigh in at the same day every week at the same
Mhm.
time, first thing of the day. And I just look at it, I'm like, huh. And I keep a note of it. And I've noticed like there's little fluctuations here and there.
Mhm.
I don't know if I can throw it out, but I like that I don't care what it says anymore. It's just more a little, huh. But man, maybe one day I will throw it out. I'm gonna just chuck it out.
I kind of feel like my clothes are a really good indication of where I'm
Yeah.
at now. Like I can tell when I'm indulging in too many plant-based desserts because my pants will get a little snug for like a day or two. And then I'm just like, you know what? I should probably have some more Brussels sprouts and maybe a couple sweet potatoes. And a couple days, it's gone again, and my pants are fitting like they're supposed to.
Yeah.
I'm not the kind of person that's going to be like, when I go to the doctor, I don't want to see my weight. I actually am really super proud of it. So I'm like, yeah, let me see it. But I just don't, I know my own brain. And I know, it's get catty with women out there. We can get a little catty and stuff about our weight and clothing sizes and all of that garbage. And I don't want to fall into
And the numbers are so kind of, it's not the same, right? It's there's so many other measures of health, and it sounds like you're just killing it. So
it.
So I think you're just fine. I had the same, and you mentioned like, when you have a significant amount of weight loss, like both of us have, you just have extra skin,
Yeah.
and I had like a little bit of skin removal surgery
Mm-hmm.
because of the front, because I was getting rashes and irritations and whatnot. But that I didn't do it everywhere. I've got like weird little man booby kind of things and pockets at the back. So,
Rock your man boobs. Seriously.
oh, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. But like, so for me, it's like I wear like probably a size of shirt bigger than I need to, just because clothes
Hmm.
fit weird otherwise. And I'm fine with it.
I still go to the wrong part of the department store for clothing. It took a long time. My husband and my son were like, "You're not in that section. You're not even like you." Even recently, I went clothes shopping with my husband a few months ago, and he was like in the extra small shirts for women, looking to buy me a present. And I'm like, "What are you doing over there?" And he's like, "Julie, because that's what size you wear." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Because a lot of days I still feel like I'm a 340-pound woman. I will always carry that woman with me. Always.
It's and for me, like, I don't know if I'm very similar. I think all of us are that have been on this journey, and I'm like, I don't mind that person being there because it's like a nice little reminder. Um, yeah.
I love her. I love
Yeah.
her.
Can you take
Yeah.
me back to because I know for those that don't know, Julie, like myself and a lot of other people that have been on the channel, is a Forks Over Nice success story. So her story's been in the magazine. Is it on the website too now?
No, it never was in the magazine. It was only on the website.
Okay,
But
so yeah,
don't you think it should be? It should be in the magazine.
I agree. But I know in that story you talked about kind of the beginning of it and how your husband, because I think you mentioned, well, let's try vegetarian. He's like, well, if we're
Mhm.
gonna do it, let's just do it. But I'd
Yay,
love you
Sean.
to, yeah. But I'd love you to talk about like what just the early days of starting to eat this way were like, and what like surprises, challenges, things that might have been easier, just anything about that you can recall, because it's been a while now, I know.
Yeah.
But what do you remember with those early days that maybe others could glean from?
Well, we're rebels and we don't always take the full message in. So when we first watched it, all I heard was no animal flesh. Like I totally missed no oil. I missed so much. We watched it and I was like, "Ooh, animal flesh bad. Let's not do that anymore." So that's what I heard. And so we got away with like Cliff bars and all kinds of stuff for a long time and still shed an enormous amount of weight.
Yeah.
So just cutting out animal flesh and a lot of that junk, just the weight started falling off. Then it was slower. So then we rewatched Forks Over Knives. We've rewatched it multiple times and finally started getting oh, wait a minute. Okay, so no oil, no sugar. Like it's been a journey. And each time we've learned something new.
But you know what? I think that's like, especially I think most of us do things in stages, and I think like it's hard to do it all at once, right? So I think like the way you probably did it is the most sustainable for you, where it was like, well, we on the first pass through we're going to do this, the next pass through we do that, right?
Yes.
And I know that's kind of how I called it my 13-year farewell tour, where
I love that.
where I went from being like omnivore, really omnivore, to like whole food plant based, with a lot of pit stops in between, to like pescatarian and but it just takes that's how long it took me. Some people can just do it overnight. Good for them. That wasn't my story. But I think it's like any progress is progress, right? And
yes.
nobody's journey is perfect.
Yes.
And it's not my saying, but I think we've all heard that idea of progress, not perfection, right? Because none of us, like you said, we're both like lifelong hot messes. But
yes.
here we are.
I'm kind of proud of it now. It's okay.
Yeah.
I can tell you that from 340 pounds to 200 pounds, I got away with a lot and still lost weight a lot. When I got around 200 pounds, I plateaued for a very long time. And I had to start getting really serious. I ended up working with some vegan bodybuilders, and they were fantastic. They were amazing. They're amazing people. They're wonderful people. They were me and my husband's coach for a while, and they worked with us with macros, and we were able to kickstart the weight loss again. But honestly, macros was not for me. It made me go back to that feeling of being bad for being hungry. And it could work wonderfully for some people. High protein, vegan diet, counting macros, flexible dieting, whatever you want to call for it. I'm not going to knock it because it did work. It did bust our plateau. But what it was doing to me mentally, it's no fault of the coaches or anybody else, but I was falling back into the mindset of I was a problem, and my desire to eat abundant, healthy foods was a problem. And I don't want to ever go there again. So I would rather lose weight much slower and feel good about eating. And so it's been a lot slower this last chunk. I have no problem giving my weight now. I weigh about 158 pounds, and I started at about 340. And I was probably a little bit more than that, but that's when I stopped getting weighed at the doctor's office.
Yeah.
So
you've lost more than you weigh now.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is an incredible thing. I know I've mentioned this before too, but I remember like when the first time I lost my first 50 pounds, I remember then going to a gym and picking up a 50-pound weight and being like, and just not being able to fathom how I carried that.
It's incredible. Yeah.
It's an incredible thing. And I have a picture like you have of the you in your pants that are like the old like Weight Watchers cliched photo of of that.
My
Wow.
my 25-year-old son and I can fit in them together. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I have a photo of my two kids in like my jeans, my
Yeah.
jeans together.
Yeah.
But I love that little message you just gave about talking about the idea of like slow and taking your time
Mhm.
with it. And my weight loss was fast.
Okay.
But if I did it again, I wouldn't do it the same way, even though I got results as fast as I did, because they did lead to some mental health things that it took me longer to get over that shit than it took me to actually lose the weight.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
and I'd rather just have lost the weight in that amount of time and skipped over all that nonsense. But it's certainly helped me be able to like help other people and share that message of like, the good and the bad ways to do it, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Because I didn't really search out gurus. I looked at the forks over knives and that kind of stuff, but I also just wanted to try to kind of find my own path, and I stumbled
Mhm.
through a lot, which
Mhm.
I think we all kind of have to do to some extent, right?
Yes, and I think another thing, I think so many people, they don't take the time to enjoy this. It's really enjoyable. At
Mm,
least it has been for me. Learning a new relationship with food in my body, it's been enjoyable, and I think people are so pushing forward to get to this imaginary, elusive body. I got news for people. If I was to get to an ideal weight according to the BMI, naked, it might not be so hot looking. I gotta tell you, it might not look so good.
no.
So I just think that there's a lot of unrealistic expectations we put upon ourselves, and we forget to enjoy the journey. And this really, for me, is about longevity, being alive as long as I can to take care of the people that I've been blessed to be able to take care of in my life, and to let another person out there in this world know that you're not alone and you don't have to live this way, and you can fall in love with food and it's okay, and you can fall in love with your body, and hell, that's okay too. Like, I don't know, enjoy it. This is fun. Meeting all these people, this is crazy fun. The networking that goes on for the whole food plant-based world, this is a riot.
Yeah, we've got, I mean, here just on our YouTube channel in general, we've got this amazing community of people that watch and support. And then we've got our new Mighty Network for those that are interested in that. There's a link down below for people that want to be part of our group. But it's just, I've never been surrounded, and I've worked in the film industry and I have a lot of friends in that, and you meet like-minded people, but I just found like this community around this, as long as you ignore the trolls that like to come on and like,
I've had them.
that's just
Yeah.
it. But I just laugh because it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you just told the algorithm you want more of this content. So keep on engaging with it, because that's all you've done.
Good job.
But I love that message. And I think, like, I like to think, and this is going to sound morbid, so apologies for that in advance. But I like to think now, because I think there was like a little point at one point where I'm like, well, once I get to this weight, I don't have to exercise anymore, and I
Yeah.
can like pull my foot off the gas, and I still work out 5 days a week, And now I think of it more like, well, no, the body I'm aiming to get to is the one that I go into the coffin in. Uh,
Absolutely.
and it's just going to be a journey, and I'm never going to get to like a finished version of this body, because hopefully it's around for a long time and it's a bit creaky in places, but it can still do a little bit of yoga.
Yes. Yes. You got it.
I just want to jump in to some of our lovely comments. Not a ton of questions, but lovely, just some amazing comments. Vise, this was back for shooting. You were talking about your son. Glad to hear that your son is doing better.
Thank
Noni
you.
wants to let you know how strong and resilient you are, which I agree. You're such an inspiration, which Yvonne has also echoed. Oh, thanks, Kimberly. Kimberly says that her 20-pound treat is going to be getting our pickle T-shirt, which is in our merch store. And Chrissy also thinks that you're a rock star, which I agree with. One question here from Miss Mellow Yellow: did a whole food plant-based diet help with the side effects of having your thyroid removed, if you had any?
So, I mean, okay. So everybody, I just hear so much that I can't lose weight because I'm hypothyroid. I can't lose weight because I'm missing a thyroid, or I had thyroid cancer. They pulled like a cantaloupe-sized tumor from behind my sternum that was attached to my thyroid gland, and luckily it was benign, but it has not slowed me down, not one bit. I take the thyroid medication as prescribed because I care about my heart, and it can really hurt your heart when you're missing your thyroid gland to not take your medication. So I take it as prescribed so that I can go live the life that I really want to live. And no side effects. So yeah, I guess things are working just fine. I guess the plant-based diet's doing what it's supposed to do because I have 0 side effects.
Nice. And you mentioned too, I think you mentioned in your article that you had sleep problems before, but those have cleared up as well.
Yeah, I like sleep now. It's good. It's good. I'm
Amazing.
tired at night. It's, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing to be tired because it's a good tired.
Yeah. There's the right kind of tired and the wrong kind of tired. Like when you're tired all day long,
Right.
not so good. But when you're exhausted at the end of the day, just because you've been and especially when it sounds like your day is just running your ass off all day. That's the good kind of tired.
Right.
So you mentioned earlier that you're a good cook.
I am.
So if I'm coming over on a road trip and I'm gonna come visit Julie, what are you making me for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? What's my day of eating gonna look like with Julie?
Well, your day of eating with Julie lately is going to be boring as heck because I'm trying to a little bit be back to the basics because I was on those whole food plant-based desserts with my mom. But
well, give me a boring day and give me an exciting day. You give me 2 days. I'm gonna stay there for the weekend.
Excellent. Okay, cool. So the boring day would be I make a breakfast cookie every single morning because I want it. And it's just glorified oatmeal again. So I mash a banana with some oatmeal, whatever spices turn me on. Right now it's cardamom and ginger. And I shape it into a cookie and I stick it in the air fryer, bake 350, 10 minutes, flip it for 5 every morning. It's a big cookie the size of my head. And it keeps me going for hours and hours and hours. That's kind of a non-negotiable. So you're getting that either way, Jeremy, on the good day and the boring day.
I'm down with a breakfast cookie. I'm in.
All right. So lunch lately is greens and beans. I'm a huge fan of I love greens. I love collard greens. Collard greens are my absolute favorite vegetable. Smoky collard greens, smoked paprika in them, some apple cider vinegar, and cook them forever. And I love every bean that there is. I'm on a lentil kick right now, and I absolutely love that. My body doesn't do great with rice. My husband does great with rice. I prefer potatoes if I'm going to have a starch, but sometimes I don't even bother having that. So that's usually my lunch. If it's some fantastic, are you
adding like a sauce to that or anything?
No, I don't even need it. Maybe a little hot sauce because I am a spicy girl. So maybe a little bit of hot sauce, but I don't need it. And then if it's a really exciting day, we would have a butt-kicking bowl of ramen with every vegetable under the sun and tons of miso and gochujang sauce and all of the stuff. So that's the good day.
Do you make your own broth from scratch?
Yes. Of course, me and my Instapot.
Nice.
Well, you can't waste any of your vegetable scraps, and you got to make sure you stick them all in the freezer. And then once a week or so, you do your little thing and zing, zing, zing. And I make a lot of like dump soup, garbage soup. That's what we call it. Whatever's in the fridge, it's got to get used. I love soup. Soup has been such a weight loss friend to me. Unbelievable. And I don't eat a little of it. I eat a lot of it.
Soup's so filling.
Yeah. And my favorite snack in the entire world, because you didn't ask about snacks, air fried Brussels sprouts. Those are like candy to me. I love them so much. I'm into asparagus right now too. I nosh on a lot of vegetables throughout the day. I really, really love vegetables, so I'm lucky in that I do.
Do you put star anise in your ramen broth?
No, but should I?
Give it a shot. Have you ever used star anise?
I have.
Yeah, I like it. You don't want a lot in there, but it gives it just like, I don't know, it gives it this earthiness or something. Like, try it. You might hate it. If you hate it, you can get mad at me.
I mean, anise, it's got a little bit of a licorice kick, and I love that. So I probably love it.
Then do it. You'll be very, very happy.
See, I was supposed to come on just for that. And supper, my family insists we have a rotation of menus. And so it's kind of insisted upon. We have Tuesday nights are burrito bowls, and today's Tuesday. So anyway, that's a boring normal day for us. An amazing night would definitely be some form of probably, I don't know, some kind of plant-based lasagna, sweet potato lasagna or something like that. But those are for the special occasions. We eat the same all the time. Super boring. Love it that way. I make sure I know what everybody's favorite foods are, and we have them just on rotation. But I mean, really, everybody does that. And then I pull out the showstoppers for the holidays and, wow everybody.
And when you've got time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love
I don't
that.
have a lot of that right now.
Yeah, no, I imagine, but I know someone else, Johnny, is mentioning to the Brussels sprouts and asparagus, and it's great. Like, I don't know, do you throw a little anything on there, or do you just air fry them as is?
I gotta give a shout out. This is one of my best friends. Hey, Johnny. And air fry the Brussels sprouts. Usually a little bit of balsamic vinegar, but lately it's hot sauce with a ton of nutritional yeast.
Oh,
I flippin' love that combination. It's so good.
that's good. Yeah, we'll use the balsamic too, but I love the idea of the hot sauce and the nooch.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Nacho cheese, Brussels sprouts. It's so good.
Johnny also threw up a really lovely, little love letter to you about you radiating health and how they're a better person for having followed you. We do have another question here from Chrissy that I wanted to throw up. The changes in cholesterol numbers and how long did it take to see them go down? Do you know that? You have that?
I don't know. I don't know the information off the top of my head, and I don't want to be misleading. I just know that my doctor doesn't test me anymore. He hasn't in years because he said your cholesterol is ridiculously low, and it has been for a couple of years. There's literally no point. And he's like, I might get back at you for cholesterol in like 7 years because he knows I'm not changing the way I'm eating, and he said it's ridiculously low. So whatever ridiculously low is, and I could tell you, my blood pressure is crazy low. Like some days it's like 91/63. So it's very low. It's very low.
That's good.
As long as it don't go too low.
Yeah. Well, that means if you go too low, you're dead. So don't go too low. So you like to cook. So you're going over to a friend's house. They want to start this whole journey, right? I want to get healthy. I want to eat. And you can gift them 3 must-have kitchen tools. What are you giving them?
You need an Instapot, some type. It doesn't have to be the Instapot, but you need an Instapot. You really do. Especially just for the broths and the soups alone and the steamed veggies. It's just in the rice, and I'll just get an Instapot.
You're making your own beans, right? Your own beans.
Absolutely. I batch cook beans every single week, enormous, ridiculous looking amounts, and it works for us. So you got to have an Instapot. Now that I'm with my mom and I'm trying to save the world, silicone bakeware. It's been wonderful, and I don't like continually buying parchment paper and all of that stuff. So some good silicone bakeware. And you need some kind of a really good blender. It doesn't have to be a Vitamix. A Vitamix is amazing, but even a really good bullet, a Ninja Bullet, a small one, personal size, does the job for the nuts if you need to use them for that, or get that kale really nice and smooth. But a really good, even personal size blender. And that's it.
Yeah, that's very similar. Those are all 3 amazing choices. So tell us where people can find you.
Okay, so
continue to follow the story.
Well, you can check me out on Forks Over Knives, the website. My story's up there, and I have a group on Facebook that it's a lot of accountability if you want that. I'm very, very active on there personally every single day. That is Plants, PLANTS, the number 2, the rescue. So head over to Facebook for that group, and I also have a YouTube channel with the same name. The YouTube channel, don't expect a lot out of me because I suck at editing and I won't even bother doing it because my life is too crazy. But it's more, that is my personal diary. That's what the YouTube channel is. It's just really how the heck I'm doing. And I'm pretty raw and open on it. And it's pretty boring. If you're looking for bells and whistles, that is not the place to go.
But we've got the links down below for both of those in the description. The YouTube one, if you're clicking there right now, give me a second. I had the wrong link up. But if you're watching this on replay, it'll be up in there. And you know what? That's not true. I whore myself out all the time. But Vi has made it. Please like this video, because what happens, here's for those that don't understand how YouTube algorithm works. When you like this video, it's telling YouTube to send it to more people. So more people will get to watch and hear Julie's amazing story. So I agree. Thank you so much, Vi. Please do share and like and all the things. Well, this was thank you so much for sitting down with us and sharing your story with everyone here. I know you said you had some, like, there was just some moments in here that were just chilling for me, like in a good way.
Thank you, Jeremy, so much. I really appreciate it.
Last thing, I'd love to know. So if you could go back to that 22-year-old who you still love, the one who is eating all the crap stuff that it's coming out in the 80s and whatnot. And if you could give her one message, or give her as many as you want, but what would that be?
It seems like a crazy message talking to a 340-pound-year-old 20-something. But I would tell her, Julie, you're allowed to take up as much space as you need to in this world. So nothing about food, nothing about nutrition. You're allowed to be here and you're allowed to breathe. That's it.
That's amazing. Well, that is a lovely note to end on. Thank you for everyone for watching. Julie, thank you for being here. We'll be back here doing another live stream next Tuesday. I think it's going to be next Tuesday evening. Let me check my calendar. I'm sorry, I should have this information. Yeah, it's going to be next Tuesday, 3:30 in the afternoon, I believe. And I'll put an announcement up later on. Julie, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everyone watching. Check out Julie's stuff in the link down below. Don't forget to like this video, to share with others. Subscribe if you haven't yet. And we'll catch you next week.
Thank you.